Finding the right house can be difficult. Whether you're looking to rent or buy, a first-time home buyer, or buying a vacation place, we are here to help. From lenders to realtors, home inspectors to interior decorators, let us walk you through turning your house into your dream home. This is From House to Home.
Hello and welcome again to From House to Home. I'm your host, Roger Adelson. Today we're going to be looking into some questions and answers to help people who are looking to buy their home. And so we have invited some guests in from Eagle Home Mortgage. We have with us today Tyson Hintz and Clark Schweigert from Eagle Home Mortgage. And thank you for both for being here today.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you.
On our last episode with Tyson, we talked about the importance of having a good credit score. And so just to touch on that again quickly as a reminder, how do you calculate a credit score when we're getting ready to buy a home?
Well, first of all, there's three reporting bureaus. There's Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Each bureau reports a different score separately. They're never the same. How it's calculated is under the FICO system, and to be honest with you, the way they calculate it is a pretty complex and interesting system. So it's really hard for us as a lender to say how the bureaus accurately calculate your score.
And so you plug in the numbers and it comes back to you. How do you determine which of those scores is their credit score?
Basically what happens is when a borrower comes in and is taking an application to get pre-approved, we enter in their personal information, name, social security number, date of birth, address, and then the social security number is what the three bureaus use for factoring who you are and pulling up your credit. You know, whatever you have that's reported that is a creditor that reports those three bureaus, depending on your payment history, is how you're rated with each bureau. And they're all rated differently. There's never the same score no matter how good of a borrower you are. They're all differently.
But that'll be the magic number for you. The
Yeah.
one that comes back is that's
Correct.
the one you'll use for that.
Yeah, each bureau, you will, because they rate differently, you have a high score, a low score, and a middle score. And when determining the proper credit score for a home loan, it's always use the middle score.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good, thank you. So now let's say I'm a person, I graduated high school, I've gone to college, I have accumulated student loans, and now I want to buy a house. So how are those student loans that I've accumulated going to affect my ability to be able to buy a house?
Well, I actually have a couple scenarios right now that I'm working with that a couple people who have recently graduated really don't have a steady work history yet. One of the nice things about getting pre-approved is I can use their degree as far as a work history also. So let's say somebody was in school, become a doctor. I can go back and get their transcript history to prove that they're actually in that same field now. Mm-hmm. So that's really good as far as not having a 2-year work history yet. So that's a little known fact for some first-time home buyers that think they don't have a work history. And also, since they've most likely have accumulated some student loans during that time,
Right.
those are all reporting even though they haven't made payments on them. They may already have a 2-year history of having open credit. So they might come in and already have a 700 credit score and not even know, and have never even made a payment on that.
So let me get this straight. So they can have student loans, never have made a payment, and have developed a fair amount of good credit just based on those loans?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit about savings. When you get ready to buy a house, there's different kinds of loans. I know that government loans, conventional loans, do they all require a down payment? And so then the question is, if they do, how much do I have to think about putting down when I buy a house, when it comes time to actually do the deal?
Well, everybody's situation as far as what type of a loan they're going to be eligible for depends on their application and their qualifications. In most circumstances, there's conventional loans which require a minimum 5% down, FHA, which requires a minimum 3.5% down, and then you have other types of loans such as VA and USDA, which are zero down loans. And in the state of Washington, we also have the Washington State Bond Loan, which is sponsored by the Washington State Housing Finance Commission, which covers all four of those loans, the FHA, conventional, VA, and USDA, which allows a borrower to do zero down. As far as savings goes, it really depends on the person's scenario as far as, do they have an established savings? Is their credit score good enough to qualify for, a conventional loan or an FHA loan? So it's going to vary a little bit, but it's always based that the down percentage, no matter if it's 3.5%, 5%, 10%, 20% down, it is all going to be based on what you actually, as a borrower, have accrued in savings.
So you, as the lender, would recommend if someone's thinking about buying a home to get started saving some money for that down?
Yeah, it's always recommended that, people start establishing a savings of some sort. It's always a good thing to have, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, what we call PITI, or reserves, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance reserves, in case of emergencies, regardless if you need money for a down payment or not.
And I would have to say, especially this time of year, it's our tax return time. So people get their refunds and use that for a down payment because, if we're going to be honest, most people live paycheck to paycheck, and we talk all day long about saving money, but how many of us actually throw $500 a month in savings to be able to purchase later on? We just don't do that. So that's when we see a lot of these different loan products and using state bond. Maybe you do have $5,000 in savings, but you don't want to use that $5,000 for a down payment. Maybe you want to use that to buy all new furniture and new appliances for the house. So you might go USDA to get 100% financing and keep your $5,000 for any expenses that may come up when you do get into the house. So it really depends on that person's situation, which is why they come in and talk to the loan officer, and we can see, does it make better sense to use all of your funds for a down payment, or does it make sense to maybe try to finance 100% of that and use that extra money for, hey, it's going to need a new carpet, and it's going to need a new fridge and stuff, and maybe you have $2,000 right out of pocket when you go to buy that home. Maybe that makes sense in their situation, even though they may have savings.
Yeah, so save the money. If you need it, you got it. If you don't need it, then there you go. You still have money in the bank to buy, like you said, furnishings. Okay, here's a question. I'm a licensed broker here, real estate broker in Washington, and one of the things that people will ask us when they come in to buy a house is, I'm a renter, so I'm renting. I've been renting all my life. Does it make more sense to buy a house or just to continue renting? Is it possible that I could actually buy a house and pay the same amount out per month as if I'm renting? What are the pros and cons of buying versus renting, would you say?
Actually, that's a really good topic there because we do a lot of studies on these types of things, and there are a lot of facts out there, renting versus buying. And the situation where we are and the way the economy is, renting is more expensive in most cases than actually buying and owning your own home. Maybe you're paying $1,200 a month rent, but you could buy that house and end up with a $1,000 a month payment and actually have a savings. So it all revolves around too on, are you qualified to buy? But if you are qualified to buy and get a home loan, that's always the best situation to do. And there's only one way to know, and that's to apply and find out. Anytime you rent, you're just paying somebody else's mortgage for them. And the tax benefits for home ownership, for writing your interest off, you get to write your property taxes off. You used to be able to write your mortgage insurance off, but unfortunately federal law has changed that this year, so they're no longer able to do that. But home ownership is the American dream, and it's the best thing that a person can do.
Great. So if someone has that question, which is a pretty common question about renting versus buying, they could come and see you, and you could actually steer them, give them the information they need to make a good decision.
Well, Roger, first of all, we never steer anybody in this industry.
I retract that word.
Really, it's about getting their information and helping them make the right decision. If it's somebody who thinks, okay, I want to go in and I want to buy a home, but I'm only going to live in Moses Lake for the next year, does it make sense for them to buy a house? No. It makes sense for them to rent, you know. But if they want to get into a home and maybe turn it into a rental down the road, yeah, that makes sense for them. So it's really just getting a good picture of what this person is trying to accomplish. And then I would say 95% of the time, it makes sense to buy. With renting, yeah, you do have the flexibility to pick up and move anytime, which is great. But also when you do buy a home, you also have that flexibility. You can pick up and move anytime you want. You're just still gonna have that mortgage payment. So maybe when they go pick up and move, they can have a renter come in and pay their mortgage.
Well, in view of that, let me ask you this question. If someone moves into our area, is there a time limit that they should wait to buy in that area, or should they just not buy because they don't know?
Well, I think that's kind of a wide topic there, because when people move in the area, it's usually because they've relocated due to job. And if it's a job that they had transferred to or a new position that they have taken, and their intentions are to be here, 3, 5, 10 years, maybe their entire lifetime, then absolutely. Most people that move in, we deal with a lot of out-of-state people moving to the area, and it is job transfer. And they're already situated. They're ready to purchase a home and move forward. And again, everybody is going to be a little bit different as far as that goes. But I would say most people that come into the area, if they have a job offer and their intentions are to stay here for a long period of time, will buy.
Yeah.
And ones that are just moving here and trying to get established and trying to find a job, those are ones that are probably looking like 6 months to a year down the road, so they can get established with the area, know the area, the surroundings, the schools, find a job and get established on that job.
You're watching From House to Home. We'll be right back.